Good morning, Veritas. Today is Friday, May 8th, 2020. I hope everybody is doing well. So please sign on to your Google Classroom and find this assignment about Miss Rella Brooks taking steps. Pause this if you need to and get yourself some extra paper to work on. And here we go. Let's get started. Okay, number one, Miss Rella Brooks took 5,278 steps in 8 hours yesterday. If she took the same number of steps each hour, then how many steps did she take per hour? Okay, so let's start again. Now I got my pen. I'm going to annotate. Go Veritas. Miss Rella Brooks took this many steps, 5,278 steps in 8 hours. She took the same number of steps each hour. So out of these steps, we're making 8 equal groups because she had the same number of steps each hour. Then how many steps did she take per hour? So right now, I'm going to write here steps per hour as my label. That way when I go to give my answer, I'm very clear that it's the number of steps per hour. Okay? So what we're doing is we're going to take her 5,278, make sure you get that number right, steps, and we're breaking it into 8 equal groups. So we are dividing it by 8. And then that'll tell us how much she took for each hour. So every group is going to tell us, the quotient is going to tell us which every single group of those 8 groups, how much they all have, because they have to be 8 equal groups. So I'm going to draw 8 equal groups here. 5, 6, 7, 8 equal groups. Each one of these represents an hour. Okay, so in 8 hours, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, she took 5,278 steps. So let's see how many she took in each hour. How much is going to be in each of those groups. Okay, so we have 5,000 and we're trying to break it into 8 equal groups. So if you put 1,000 in each group, that would be 8,000. And we only have 5,000. So you can't put any thousands into those groups. You would need 8 of them in order to put 1 into each group. So we can't put any of those into each group. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at it as 5,200s. Okay? 5,200s is the same thing as 5,200. So now we're going to ignore the 78 still. We're just going to look at it as 5,200s. If I had 5,200s, since this is the hundreds place, then how many could I put into each of these 8 groups? So 8 times what gets you closest to 52, but we only have 52. We can't go higher than 52. So 8 times 7 is 56, so 8 times 6 is 48. So we could put 600 into each of these groups. That's what the 6 in the hundreds place represents. So we could put 600 into all those groups. We couldn't put any thousands because we don't have 8,000s, but we can put 600s into each group. So then 6 times 8 is 48 hundreds, subtract, and you have 400s left, right? We used 48 of them, and we had a total of 52. So we had, when we subtracted, we had 400s that we still haven't used yet, okay? So we're going to now include those with the 10s. We're going to take those 400s and we're going to include them with the 10s. So now we have 47 10s. So if we had 47 10s and we were breaking them into 8 groups, what number times 8 gets you closest to 47? I know 8 times 5 is 40, 8 times 6 is 48, so it has to be 5. Because we only have 47, it can't be 48. So 5 times 8 is 40. So we could put 5 10s into each group, so that's 50. So each group now has 650. But we're not done yet. We still have some more to put into those groups. Okay? We subtract and we still had 7 10s that we couldn't put into these groups because if we put 7 of them into these groups, then this last 8th group would not have the equal amount to the rest of them. So we can't just put those 7 10s into those groups right now. We need to be able to split them into all 8 groups because they need to be equal groups. That's what's really, really important here. Okay, so we still have 7 10s, so now we're going to include the 1s, and we're going to say we have 78 1s. If I had 78 1s and I was going to split them into 8 equal groups, what number times 8 gets you closest to 78 without going over, because all we have are 78? It's 9. 9 times 8 is 72, and we subtract. We still have 6 left. So we could put 659 into all 8 groups. So now these groups all have an equal amount. They all have 659 in them. And now we have 6 as a remainder, because look, we can't put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 because then these last 2 groups will not be equal to these other groups. And when we're dividing, we need to be making 8 equal groups. So we can't go ahead and put those 6 into 6 of those groups because then they won't all be equal. So that is known as our remainder. That is how much is left over that won't fit into those groups. Now, we know enough about fractions that we can actually write that remainder as the numerator, and we can write the divisor, the number we divided by, as the denominator. And that's a more accurate answer because we know a bit about fractions, and if we take and we break each of those holes, each of these 6 holes, we could break into 8 equal parts, and we could put 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8 here, 1/8, 1/8. And we could do that actually 6 times before we run out of all 6 of those remainders. And then we will have an exact equal amount into every group. Okay, so since 6/8 can be simplified to 3/4, our best answer here is 659 and 3/4. Because if we divide the fractional part, 6/8, if we divide that by a fraction that's equal to 1, if we divide it by 2 halves, we're really dividing it by 1 and we're not really changing it. But 6 divided by 2 is 3 and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay? So our answer for here is that she took 659 and 3/4 steps per hour. If you had 659 remainder 6, this question didn't tell you to write it as a mixed number, so you could put, I'll put that answer here too, 659 remainder 6 would be an acceptable answer. We're just getting to the point, I know my class practiced this a lot in UMass, we're getting to the point where we want to write this as a fraction, just to be that much more accurate. Instead of having any left over, we should use our knowledge about fractions and break those 6 equal groups. Or 6 left over and break them into 8 equal groups. Okay, so either of those answers are good, but 659 remainder 6 ended up being the answer for that. Okay, that's how much would fit into each group. So that's how much every hour. These are all an hour, so she did 659 every hour, and there were a remainder of 6. All right. Now, number 2 is going to have us check that. So this is something I wanted you to practice today. So number 2 says, or give yourself some snaps first of all. If you did that division, that was pretty tough division. Nice work. 4 digits divided by a 1-digit divisor. Nice job. Number 2 says, check your answer to number 1 above using multiplication. So we're just going to check our answer using multiplication. And then it even tells you how to do that. To do that, you must multiply the quotient. So I did a little thing here. The quotient is our answer. That's the one at the top when we did the division here. That's our answer. The divisor, or the number of equal groups, that's the number we're dividing by. And the dividend is the number that's being divided into those equal groups. So the dividend was the number of steps she took altogether. The divisor was the 8 hours, and our quotient was the number of steps she took every hour. Okay, and the remainder is the amount left over because they don't fit into equal groups. Okay, so it says to do that, you must multiply the quotient times the divisor and then add the remainder. If there is a remainder, which there is in our case. If your quotient was correct, you should get back to the dividend you started with. And then it just wants us to check the box if we did get back to the dividend. So what we did here, the dividend was 5,278. We divided that by the divisor of 8, and we got an answer of 659. That was our quotient. And the remainder was 6. Okay? So now if we multiply the quotient times the divisor and we add the remaining ones that were left over, we should get right back to 5,278, the dividend, if we did that right. So let's do it quickly. 659 times 8. So we're doing our quotient times the divisor. So 8 times 9 is 72. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 7 is 47, carry the 40. 6 times 8 is 48, plus 4 is 52. And since there's no more numbers to multiply by here, we're just going to write the 52 there and put our comma. 5,272 Then we have to add the remainder because those ones didn't fit into those groups. So we're going to add them now. 8, 7, 2, 5. 5,278. And that is the same number of steps we started with. So we did get back to our dividend. So that is telling us that our quotient and our remainder here, 659 remainder 6, that is telling us that it is correct. Since we multiplied the quotient times the divisor, we added the remaining ones, the remainder, and it got us right back to where we started. Just like division and multiplication, if you work backwards, they are opposites, so you can work backwards and check your work. So I'm just going to check this box. If you had trouble with that, please pause this and watch and see how I was able to check my answer by multiplying the quotient times the divisor, add the remainder, and I got right back to where I started as the dividend. Okay, nice job. Give yourself some snaps. If you knew how to do that, awesome. If not, we're going to keep practicing that a little bit. So great job. Last one. We might be running out of time on my camera here, so let's get it going. Okay, this is an order of operations problem. So we're going to do the parentheses first, then we're going to do the exponents, multiplication and division at the same time, whichever one comes first, going left to right, and addition and subtraction at the same time, whichever one comes first, going left to right. Okay, the reason we do it in this order is because the parentheses are going to have the biggest impact on the end of the problem. Addition and subtraction is just going to have a little bit of a change in the problem, but the parentheses is going to have a huge amount of change, and then it goes in order from the most to the least amount of change. Multiplication and division are repeated addition and repeated subtraction. So this is going to have a bigger amount of change to our problem than the addition and subtraction. So the way we do it is parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division. Then the last thing we do are addition and subtraction. So first things first, our parentheses. 6 minus 3 is 3. Then we're going to do the exponent here. 4 squared. 4 to the second power is not 8. It's 4 times itself this many times. Or 4 times itself 2 times. So 4 times 4 is 16. So far we have 16 plus 3. And then we're going to just rewrite the rest of it. Plus 24 divided by 6. Okay, now order of operations says we're not going to do this addition yet. We're going to do this division next. So we're doing 24 divided by 6. What number times 6 gets you to 24? And the answer is 4. Now we have 16 plus 3 plus, and this was 4. So 16 plus 3 is 19, and 19 plus 4 is 20, 21, 22, 23. So the answer to that order of operations problem is 23. And now I'm just going to check. I did the parentheses first. 6 minus 3 is 3. Then I did the exponents. 4 times 4. This is where you might have made a mistake here. That's 4 times itself twice. So 4 times 4 is 16. So we have 16 plus 3 plus. And then we have to do 24 divided by 6 next. We're not going to do the addition yet. We're not going to turn that into 19. We're not going to add the 3 and the 24 yet. We're going to do this division first. That's 4. And then we have all addition. 16 plus 3 is 19. Plus 4 is 23. All right. It's important with these ones that you go back and just check one more time because they can be very, very tricky. All right. Those were tough today. Good work on a Friday. Give yourself some snaps. Pause this and go back and let me know if you have any trouble, and I'll see your assignments on Google Classroom. Hope everybody has a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday. Bye.